Ecosystems are aquatic environments with high levels of dissolved salt, such as those found in or near the ocean. Marine ecosystems are defined by their unique biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors include plants, animals, and microbes. Important abiotic factors include the amount of sunlight in the ecosystem, the amount of oxygen and nutrients dissolved in the water, proximity to land, depth, and temperature. Sunlight is one of the most important abiotic factors for marine ecosystems. It's so important that scientists classify parts of marine ecosystems up to three by the amount of light they receive. The topmost part of a marine ecosystem is the euphotic zone, extending down as far as 200 meters below the surface. At this depth, there is sufficient light for regular photosynthetic activity. Most marine life inhabits this zone. Below the euphotic zone is the dysphotic zone, which can reach from 200 to as deep as 1,000 meters below the surface. At these depths, sunlight is still available, but only to facilitate some photosynthesis. Below the dysphotic zone lies the aphotic zone, which does not receive any sunlight.
Philippines, geographically speaking, is located at the apex of the Coral Triangle. The Philippine archipelago lies between north of the equator. One of the world's largest island group, the Philippines is composed of 7,717 islands and extends 1,880 kilometers from north to south. While the country's total land area is approximately 300,000 square kilometers and its coastline is 37,000 kilometers, its complete territory, including its exclusive economic zone or EEZ, is about 2 million kilometers. Based on the biophysical attributes of the Philippines, the coral reef communities are the following: West Philippine Sea, or also known as the South China Sea, Sulu Sea, Celebes Sea, Visayas Region, Northeastern Philippine Sea, and Southeastern Philippine Sea. The Philippines has declared two priority seascapes under the Coral Triangle Initiative, or also known as CTI. The first of these is the Sulu-Sulawesi Marine Ecoregion. The Philippines has a formal cooperation agreement on the SSME with Indonesia and Malaysia. The second priority seascape is the West Philippine Sea, or also known as the South China Sea. The SSME encompasses the Sulu Sea, Celebes Sea, Visayan Sea, and a small part of the West Philippine Sea biogeographic region. The Philippines is home to 3,053 species of fish, and of which are 2,724 are marine-based. These are 177 pelagic fish species and 2,351 demersal species. The most species families were Pomacentridae, Labridae, Serranidae, and Scaridae. These families comprised 58% of the total number of species observed. However, at its peak, the status of coral reef in the Philippines are in danger due to global warming and ocean acidification, which primarily due to the responsible act of humans. If resulted to the destruction of coral habitats for our aquatic resources, and at the same time due to the ascending ocean temperature, which can trigger coral bleaching, and it loses its colorful algae, leaving only transparent tissue covering their calcium carbonate skeletons. If these stresses are sustained, these corals will be damaged.
The marine environment is not just something to be seen as less than the other types of environment that are found in the world. Because this type of environment provides many benefits that one may have not known was beneficial for them or to the society that no other places may bring. The unique coastal and marine ecosystem may bring forth many scientific and research values that may be used as means to help problems regarding the safety and well-being of fishes or humans being in that part of an oceanic location. Scientists have started researching on potential substances that can be found in the aquatic space because of its important source of nutritional supplements and medical treatments, some of which have already been developed, such as the cancer treatment from algae, painkillers from snail venom, and some are from the corals that have helped in the development of antiviral drugs. Coral reefs in particular may help society when facing calamities. They reduce the impacts of large waves before they can reach the shore whenever there are storms occurring. Since coral reefs extend hundreds and thousands of meters away from the shore, they become effective in absorbing elements from the ocean and reducing coastal erosion. One of the largest industries in the world is tourism. A lot of tourist activities depend on the marine environment, which we can call as nature-based tourism. Such industry contribute to the economy of a country, especially in countries such as the Philippines, which is surrounded by different marine ecosystem that houses thousands of various marine species. Tourists are able to swim around together with the fishes and view the natural reefs, and some visitors are even willing to pay a higher rate just to go to remote areas where they can enjoy sightseeing these panoramic seascapes even more. Lastly, the marine environment is home to the many fishes and plants that men consume on a daily basis. The oceans and seas are one of the places that people may go to harvest seaweeds and other marine life as means of living, and in doing such, they have already contributed in the economy of their country. In the Philippines alone, the ocean economy contributed $11.9 billion in gross value added in 2015 and accounted for about 7% of gross domestic product according to Asian Development Bank Institute. It is important to note these benefits may not last any longer, with the alarming cases of our marine life being killed and open oceans being destroyed and littered.
Biodiversity is truly essential as it overlaps with our lives. So, how can we as individuals protect it? The single best way is through educating and informing others, and for this very reason, some of these may sound familiar to you if you frequent these marine habitats. Avoid throwing waste directly in water, as plastics and other trash items get carried along waterways into the rivers and end up in seas and oceans where they break down into small particles that end up inside marine animals. Join a local organization's plastic waste cleanup or organize your own on a beach or riverbank, as it is important to prevent all waste from reaching marine life. When visiting and swimming in our beaches, seas, and oceans, use a mineral sunscreen without oxybenzone to keep coral reefs and marine life safe. Observe marine life from a distance. Although it may be tempting to get closer to marine animals and coral reefs to have a better look, doing so may stress out aquatic life and disrupt the fragile ecosystems that we benefit from. While it is inadvisable, when looking at and picking up shells and small sea creatures, whether near the shore or deeper, always return them to where you picked them up to make sure they remain in their natural habitat. Limit consumption of certain species essential to these ecosystems, for example, parrotfish, or locally called molmol, as it eats the algae off reefs, cleaning it up, helping to produce and distribute sand by grinding rocks and reef into fine sand and then excreting it. Lastly, we can support marine reserves that protect and preserve habitats of these ecosystems and raise more awareness about biodiversity in our own communities.
The marine environment of the Philippines, as we know, is home to many animals, not to mention the significant impact it has on other ecosystems as well as the livelihood of the Filipinos. The country, being an archipelago, allows some of its islands to be surrounded by large bodies of water, enabling them to utilize the resources and benefit from it. The government, to this end of protecting and preserving the marine environment of the Philippines, imposes the Presidential Decree 979, which primarily focuses on a national policy to prevent and control the pollution of the seas by the dumping of waste, other matters which create hazards to human health, harming the living resources and marine life, damage to amenities, or interfere with the legitimate uses of the sea within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. To ensure the adherence of the presidential decree, the primary body responsible for the protection and preservation shall be the Philippine Coast Guard. However, it shall be the joint responsibility of the Philippine Coast Guard and the National Pollution Control Commission to coordinate and cooperate with each other in the enforcement of the provisions of this decree and implementing its rules and regulation. They may call upon any other government office, instrumentality, or agency to extend every assistance in this respect. Another law the Philippine government has created coincides with the protection and the preservation of the marine life and its environment is the Republic Act 9275, otherwise known as the Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004. This act aims to protect the country's water bodies from pollution from land-based sources, such as industries and commercial establishment, agriculture, community household activities. Yet, despite all their efforts to the government to protect and preserve the marine ecosystem, the Philippines remains one of the worst offenders on the marine plastic pollution, with a 0.28 to 0.75 million tons per year of plastic entering the oceans from the coastal areas in the Manila Bay. This is according to an article released by the SEA Circular Organization with regards to plastic pollution. Another issue regarding marine's ecosystem was the dumping of artificial white sands on the Bay of Manila. The government, in their efforts to rehabilitate the Manila Bay, has decided to dump crushed dolomite boulders. This stirred up debates on whether or not the government was whitewashing the beach, as well as other provinces nearby have noted the influx of carbon pollution arriving through their marine ecosystems or mangroves.
Marine ecosystems are aquatic environments with high levels of dissolved salt. These include the open ocean, the deep sea ocean, and coastal marine ecosystems, each of which has different physical and biological characteristics. In these ecosystems are a diverse variety of ocean life that includes animals, plants, and microorganisms that are living in harmony, feeding off each other. Maintaining the oceanic ecosystems is an important factor in considering the future of our race. These ecosystems contain a diverse range of marine life that provides us humans with food, raw materials, and natural defenses against hazards. The marine environment is an essential component of the global life support system. Oceans cover 71% of the Earth's surface and provides us with food, oxygen, and jobs. But they are probably the least understood and most biologically diverse and undervalued of all the ecosystems. Asia accounts for 60% of the world's fish production, with the developing countries in the continent accounting for 75% of the production. Furthermore, Asia accounts for 34% of the world's export of fish and a staggering 87% of all fishery and aquaculture employees, producing 5 million tons of fish products every year. Members of the Association of Southeast Asian Countries account for a quarter of the annual world production itself. Asia has the highest fish consumption in the world, and there is a high likelihood that fisheries and aquacultures will continue playing a critical role in providing livelihood, trade, and food security in the Southeast Asian region. Marine biodiversity, the variety of life in the ocean and seas, is a critical aspect of all three pillars of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental. Supporting the healthy functioning of the planet and providing services that underpin the health, well being, and prosperity of humanity, volunteers of the past few years have helped to grow coral, plant artificial reefs, monitor the progress of the artificial reefs, monitor the degradation of other reefs, and keep an eye on the amount of coral and fish in the area. This is an ongoing mission and one that is growing of great importance.